right at the end of my street is a venue called History. You know, I walk out my front door. I literally walk out the front door, walk across the street because I can't see the marquee unless I go across the street. I look at the marquee and I say, who the is that? And I look it up and they go, 90 million views. I'm like, I don't even know who the that guy is or that girl is. It's unbelievable. And my point is sort of to your point, I think it's become more niche. I think it's become a smaller thing. I don't know how many big arena bands we're going to produce anymore. I think this is what we're producing. 1,000-seater to 2,500-seater. You can make the living off of it. There's going to obviously be the ones that are going to break through and get bigger and bigger and whatever. But I think a lot of it is going to be this.
100% agree. And I think like, even if I think about Carly Rae Jepsen's career, it's interesting that way because there she is. She has the biggest hit, one of the biggest hits in history. And you know, the funny thing is she hasn't really had a hit since then, but she can tour anywhere in the world. And I don't think it's just because of Call Me Maybe. She has been able to reinvent herself as kind of a tastemaker sort of artist.
Right.
And you know what? It's a nice career. I mean, she can go to Europe and she's playing, I don't know, 3,000 to 5,000 seaters. So is it a stadium career? No, but who gives a you know, to be able to just make a living, a half decent living and to is a pretty amazing thing.
Isn't that what artists really want? I mean, that's what I want for my artists. I want them to make a living. Yeah, I want everybody to be really rich. I want them to make a lot of money because then I'll make a lot of money. But isn't it that you want your artists to do what they love doing, which is making music and being able to sustain themselves and just have a living?
100%. I say that all the time. Somebody says to me, like, what's your definition of success? That you're making a living.
Yeah.
That you don't have another job. Yeah. That you don't have the job at Staples and then, you know, to support, you know, to pay your rent. Like if you could pay your rent and do more, buy a house one day, have a family. I mean, whatever it is that your personal goals are and sustain that with your music career. To me, that's the huge victory.
You know, I look at, there's a couple of bands I looked at. One, I think completely did it wrong. And I think he was kind of foolish. And the other ones I think did really, really right. And the ones that I think did it really right was this band called Hanson. And, you know, they had that song. You know, that was a big song.
Mbop.
Mbop. And made them multimillionaires, did really well for them. And then they disappeared. Well, they haven't disappeared. They started their own record label. They still tour. They still do the equivalent of about 500,000 records a year. They play small arenas. They don't have to put up with the and they're making a really good living.
And so what's your link to them? If you know this, you must
I just think that it's a brilliant model on what they did was that they learned how to use the system. They used it well. And now they're just making a living, making music and making their own records and doing it on their own schedule and on their own dime.